My beloved, there is a sacred hush that settles over the earth when the hour strikes 3 in the morning. The moon is high, the stars are watching, and all the noisy distractions of the day have tiptoed quietly away. And yet you find yourself awake, not by alarm, not by chaos, but by something holy. You rub the sleep from your eyes, wondering why your spirit stirred you from rest. It is not insomnia. No, it is invitation. See, 3 a.m. is not an accident, baby. It is a divine appointment. It is a whisper of God saying, "Come, my child. I want to talk to you where no one else can interrupt. The world sleeps, but heaven is alive. Your soul is open, raw, and most receptive in those quiet hours. The veil between you and the eternal is thin, so God tugs on your spirit, not to trouble you, but to teach you, to cradle you, to comfort you. Now, don't you dismiss that awakening as meaningless. Don't you roll over and say it's just a bad dream, or I'm restless. You were summoned, yes, summoned by the creator of galaxies, by the author of your very breath. Why does he call you at 3 a.m.? Oh, my darling, let me talk to you plain and soft, like a warm quilt across your shoulders in the middle of the night. There are moments in life when your spirit rises and you don't know why. The hour is unkind, 3 in the morning. The world is hushed in its slumber, and the night wraps itself around your house like a velvet shawl. But something in you, something unseen and ancient, begins to stir. Your eyelids lift slow and searching. You sit up, not with panic, but with an uneasiness you can't name. The clock glows. 3 o'clock, and baby, you think it's just restlessness. You think you drank too much water or forgot to turn off your mind. But I am here to tell you, no, that is not coincidence. That is not your body waking you. That is the divine invitation. That is heaven tapping on the windows of your soul. When God wakes you in the deep hush of night, it is never without meaning. That hour is not a mistake. It is not a random stir. It is on purpose. As sure as the sun rises and the tide flows, you were summoned, you were called, not by human voice or earthly reason, but by the voice of the Almighty, soft as wind, firm as truth. He chose the stillness to reach you, because it is in the stillness that we are most reachable. You see, during the day, your mind is a marketplace. Thoughts hustle, worries shout, plans and people clamor for your attention. Your soul is crowded with doing, proving, trying, pleasing. There is no room for God to sit and speak. But when the stars hang silent in the sky and the rest of the world is folded into sleep, then, oh then, God has you all to himself. No phone ringing, no children crying, no tasks pressing on your back like bricks, just you and him and the quiet of eternity leaning close. He does not wake you to disturb your rest. No, child. He wakes you to restore your rest. Because you can sleep 8 hours and still wake up tired, when your soul is unsettled. But when God speaks to you in the stillness, when he meets you in that secret hour, your spirit finds a kind of peace that no blanket or pillow could ever offer. And I know it don't always feel sacred. Sometimes you wake up with a heaviness on your chest or tears in your eyes, or a prayer already sitting on your lips, trembling. You think it's anxiety, you think it's trouble knocking on your door. But beloved, look closer, listen deeper. That weight may not be worry, that may be glory. That may be the presence of the Almighty stepping into your room, unseen but unmistakable, brushing your spirit with divine urgency. He is not in a rush. He is not loud. He is gentle. And he is deliberate. He is the master of timing. And there is something about that hour, 3 in the morning, that lends itself to revelation. It is the time between yesterday and today, between the trouble you carried and the hope he's unfolding. It is the hour where angels shift and silence speaks. And if you are awake, you are chosen to witness the wonder. Don't brush it off. Don't roll over and say, I'll pray in the morning, because morning might bring noise. Morning might bring doubt. But in the sacred silence of that early hour, your spirit is tender and God is near. He wakes you to tell you things the daylight can't hold. He wakes you to protect you from what's ahead, to strengthen you, to whisper strategies, to stir up dreams, to mend the parts of you that broke quietly during the day when no one noticed. He sees what others missed. He knows what you've tucked away. And he calls you, yes, you, into his presence like a loving parent calls a child into their arms during a storm. That hour is not punishment. It is not interruption. It is divine pursuit. He waits for that moment when your defenses are down, when the world's demands are sleeping, when the only sound is the steady beat of your heart. And he says, come, let us reason together, not to lecture you, not to scold, but to love you, to speak life into places that have withered under the weight of daily survival. And sometimes he just wants your company. Isn't that beautiful? That the God of all creation would wake you not because he needs something, but because he misses you, because he desires a few moments with the soul he crafted by hand, because he knows that even when you forget to call his name during the day, he still wants to speak yours in the dark. So don't be afraid when you wake at 3 a.m. Don't rush to fill the silence. Just sit. Just breathe. Say, yes, Lord, I'm here. You don't need fancy words. You don't need to perform. Just be present. Because in that sacred appointment, God is not asking for performance. He's asking for presence. He is the God of the midnight hour, the architect of peace, the keeper of promises. And when he wakes you, he is saying, I see you, I hear you, I have not forgotten. He is saying, there's something I want to give you, something I want to show you, something I want to remove from you before the sun comes up. So don't fear the hour. Rejoice in it. Because the same God who split the sea, who moved mountains, who held stars in his palm, that same God chose your bedroom, your breath, your body at 3 a.m. to carry his presence. And that, my dear, is no accident. That is a miracle in motion. Hush now, beloved. Hush that busy mind. Lay down your troubles and sit a while with me, so I can tell you what your heart already knows, but your ears have been too full to hear. There is a language that cannot be spoken out loud, a kind of sacred tongue that does not require breath or syllables. It is the language of stillness. And in that stillness, yes, that soft, hallowed hush, where the world quiets and your spirit leans forward, God speaks. It is not in the thunder of applause or the crackle of lightning that he does his finest work. No, child. It is not in the trumpet sound or the clamor of a crowded room that he draws near. It is in the pause, the quiet space between your questions and his answers. That is where God lives. You have heard noise all day long, traffic, screens, voices with demands, and your own internal chorus of worry, fear, and doubt. You move from one thing to the next like a river, pushed by pressure, never stopping, never still. And you wonder why you can't hear him, why he feels far, why the heavens seem shut tight. But oh, sweet soul, the heavens haven't closed. You've just been too loud to hear the whisper. God is not absent. He is waiting. Waiting for the moment when you allow stillness to settle like dust on a forgotten altar. When you finally give him not just a glance or a nod, but your attention fully, wholly, deeply. That is when the miracle of communion begins. When Elijah the prophet stood on that mountain, desperate to hear from the Lord, the wind came roaring, the fire came blazing, the earth shook beneath his feet. But the voice of the Lord was not in any of those grand displays. It was in the still, small voice. A gentle whisper, that carried the weight of glory, enough to bring a man to his knees. You see, there is a majesty in silence that is often overlooked. We think if God doesn't shout, he isn't speaking, but he's not in competition with chaos. He does not holler to rise above the noise. He waits for you to step into the quiet where he already dwells. Stillness is not emptiness. It is the presence of divine fullness. It is the room where your soul can stretch its arms and feel the warmth of God wrapping around it like morning sunlight. In the still, God reminds you who you are. Not the name on your job badge, not the title people call you, but the beloved child he knit together in the sacredness of the womb. Stillness is where your spirit remembers its origin, and oh, what a glorious thing it is to remember. When you are still, you begin to feel again, not just the aches of a tired body, but the gentle nudging of the Holy Spirit that you've been missing in the noise. He corrects in stillness, he heals in stillness, he reveals in stillness. Sometimes he speaks in visions, sometimes in a scripture that floats to the surface of your memory like a forgotten melody. And sometimes he speaks with no words at all, only the deep, certain knowing that comes from being in the presence of the Almighty. You don't need a church pew, you don't need a microphone, you don't need a band or a bishop. All you need is a quiet room and a willing heart. Let the phone rest. Let the television dim. Let the world do what it does. But you, child of glory, be still, because the Spirit moves in silence, like the ocean tide moves under moonlight. Steady, sure, without sound, yet shaping everything it touches. There are answers waiting for you in the stillness. There are instructions that won't come through busyness. There's peace, not the kind the world gives, but the kind that holds your hand through storms. And it waits for you in the hush. Sometimes the stillness is uncomfortable at first, because when the noise stops, you begin to hear your own heart, the grief you buried, the shame you masked, the longing you've ignored. But don't run from that. Don't be afraid. Because God meets you there, and he doesn't shame, he sanctifies, he doesn't condemn, he calls you deeper, he doesn't rush, he restores, he sits with you in the stillness, like a friend who says, I have all the time in the world, and it's all for you. You don't have to explain, you don't have to beg, just be. For in that moment, you will find that God has been speaking all along, in the rhythm of your breath, in the warmth behind your ribs, in the quiet tears you couldn't explain, in the weight that lifted without a word. He's always been speaking, but stillness is the hearing aid of the soul. So when he wakes you in the midnight hours, don't rush to fix it or fill it, just receive it. Just sit in the divine pause and say, Speak, Lord. I am still. I am ready. I am listening. Because in the quiet, God's voice is not faint. It is faithful. And when he speaks in stillness, he speaks directly to the root. He doesn't trim the surface. He heals the soul. He doesn't make noise. He makes truth. So don't be afraid of silence, beloved. Don't fear the hush. For it is in the stillness that God does his deepest work. And it is in that sacred quiet that you will hear the sound that saves you. Oh, my sweet darling, you must understand something tonight. Something the world may not have taught you. Something your weary heart may not yet believe. When your body rises from sleep at 3 a.m., when your soul is shaken from its dreaming and your eyes blink open into the dark hush of night, it is not always because you are anxious or troubled, or plagued by the ghosts of the day before. No, child. Sometimes you are not restless. You are being stirred. There is a difference, and you must know it. Restlessness wears a face of confusion. of pacing thoughts, of questions without answers. But spiritual stirring, oh, it is something holier. It is a divine disturbance, a quiet, sacred rustling in the fabric of your soul. It is heaven moving inside of you, God reaching into your midnight and saying, I'm here. And working, I'm turning the soil of your spirit so something new can grow. And when that happens, when your rest is disrupted by the hands of the divine, you must not mislabel it. Don't call it insomnia. Don't call it inconvenience. Don't call it weakness. That's the language of the flesh. But your spirit knows better. It knows when the wind has changed. When something holy is pressing against your chest, you are not merely awake. You are being summoned. Sometimes God stirs you because He's preparing your heart for something your eyes have not yet seen. Sometimes He must rouse your soul before He can shift your circumstances. And so He moves gently inside of you, waking you from within, because destiny doesn't knock on your front door at 10 a.m. It often comes like a whisper in the dark. And oh, what a sacred gift it is to be stirred by God. But I know, child, I know. It doesn't feel like a gift at first. It feels like weight. It feels like pressure. It feels like something unknown pressing down on your chest. You sit up in bed. You place your feet on the floor. You try to pray, but the words don't come easy. You try to think, but nothing makes sense. But I'll tell you a secret. That moment of stillness, that trembling silence in your room, it is not confusion. It is a birthing place. Yes, a birthing place. Something is being born in you. A revelation, a healing, a new level of faith, a call to higher ground. And like all births, there's groaning before the joy. There's discomfort before the promise. But oh, what a joy it is when the labor leads to light. Don't you know, God doesn't stir just anyone. He stirs the ones He loves. He stirs the ones He trusts with more. He stirs the ones whose ears are open even when the world is asleep. There's something inside you that cannot stay the same. There is a version of you that must rise. There is a vision God placed in your bones long ago that's been growing in the dark. And now He's saying, come, daughter. Come, son. It's time. Out knowing what's next. But trust the stirring. Trust the hand that wakes you when the world is silent. That hand does not wake you to torment you. That hand wakes you to transform you. That hand wakes you to transform you. Have you ever noticed how the ocean stirs at night? The tide rises, even when no eyes watch it. The waves move with purpose, kissed by moonlight. And so too does your soul, stirred by God's command, moved by forces greater than your understanding. What looks like stillness on the outside is often a storm of glory on the inside. You see, God doesn't always make an announcement. He doesn't always give you a calendar date. But when He begins to stir you, He's letting you know change is near. The atmosphere is shifting. Heaven is aligning itself on your behalf. You might not see it with your eyes yet, but your spirit feels it. That's why you're up. That's why your soul keeps whispering, something's coming. That's why your dreams are loud, your heart is tender, your eyes won't close. It's not coincidence, it's calling. And you must answer, not with fear, not with resistance, but with yes. Yes, Lord, I feel you. Yes, Lord, I will be still and listen. Yes, Lord, I may not understand, but I will trust. For what is faith if not believing even when you don't see? When God stirs you, He's not asking for your full understanding. He's asking for your full attention. And oh, how He longs for it. Not because He needs it, but because you do. You need to feel Him near. You need to know that you're not wandering alone in the dark. You need to remember that even when life doesn't make sense, His love always. So the next time you wake in the small hours when the stars are blinking above and the world sleeps without worry, I hope you remember this. You are not disturbed. You are being drawn. You are not troubled. You are being trained. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt. He is preparing you for more. More peace, more wisdom, more purpose, more power. And every stirring is an invitation to rise. Rise above your fear. Rise above your routine. Rise into the life God has been crafting for you behind the veil of night. So sit in the stirring, beloved. Don't fight it. Don't flee from it. Let it wash over you like a sacred tide. Because when the morning comes and the sun finds your face, you'll know something changed in the night. Something deep and holy moved in the shadows. Something unseen touched you. And you'll smile, not because the world is easier, but because your soul is stronger. You'll walk differently, speak differently, live differently, because you'll know God stirred me in the night, and I answered him. In the hour when shadows stretch long across the floor, and the world lies quiet under the hush of heaven, God leans in close to whisper secrets he wouldn't dare reveal when the sun is up and the noise is loud. Yes, child, midnight is not just a time on the clock. It is a sacred threshold, a veil drawn thin between the seen and the unseen, a holy passage where eternity touches time and the soul, that quiet and tender flame flickers in recognition of something greater than itself. At midnight, you are not just awake, you are being welcomed. Revelation rarely comes in daylight's comfort. No, it prefers the soft soil of darkness, the fertile ground of silence, where your pride is sleeping and your heart is listening. It comes when you are raw, when you are alone with your thoughts, stripped of pretense, laid bare before the throne of grace. And in that moment God speaks, not with a roar, not with a storm, but with a stillness so profound it trembles the bones. Midnight is when the veil lifts, when truth walks barefoot across the tender places in your soul and says, "Here I am. See me, know me, receive me." The scriptures are thick with such hours. Think of Paul and Silas imprisoned in the heart of night, chains on their feet, stone beneath their backs. Yet it was in that very midnight, not morning, not noon, that the earth shook and imprisoned doors swung wide open. Why? Because worship born in darkness moves heaven in ways light never will. They did not wait for the sun to shout praises. They sang in the midnight hour, not because they were free, but because they believed they would be. That is what midnight does. It tests your faith before it rewards it. It pulls the truth from your chest and demands you declare it without evidence. Midnight revelation isn't given to the faint-hearted. No, it is granted to the seekers, the broken, the weary warriors who have come to the end of themselves and yet still manage to whisper, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." It is in the dark where Moses saw the bush burn with glory. It was in the dark of night that the angel passed over Egypt, that Jacob wrestled with the Lord, that Jesus wept in Gethsemane, sweating blood in a garden full of sleeping friends. You see, midnight is not the absence of God. It is often the presence of him in his most intimate form. It is when he doesn't just teach, he reveals. And revelation is not just information. Revelation is a shift, a transformation. It is when your spirit says, "I see now, I understand," and you never return the same. When God wakes you at 3 a.m., it may not be because something is wrong. It may be because something is right. Your spirit is ready. The heavens are aligned. The silence is perfect. And the Lord, in all his wisdom, has chosen this hour to uncover something you've never seen. In him, in life, in yourself. And don't mistake the simplicity of the moment for smallness. No trumpet will sound, no prophet will call your name, but in that private, holy silence, God may show you why you survived what you did, why you were rejected, why the door closed, why the pain lingered, why the path curved the way it did. And oh, when the revelation comes, when the divine light flickers on in the room of your understanding, it changes you, not always loudly, but deeply, unforgettably. You may find yourself weeping, not out of sorrow, but because the truth has finally touched you, and it fits like skin you didn't know you needed. You may be shown your next step, not the whole journey, but just enough light for the day ahead. Or he may reveal himself, not as a concept or a Sunday sermon, but as Father, friend, lover of your soul. And suddenly, he won't just be God anymore, he'll be yours. Midnight doesn't rush you. It doesn't demand eloquence. It only asks for openness, for stillness, for willingness. So when the hour comes, when your eyes open to the hush of a room where even the clocks seem to hold their breath, remember this. You are not up by chance. You are not restless by mistake. You have been summoned by the one who formed the stars and knows them by name. And he is drawing back the curtain on something he's been longing to show you. Take heart, child. The darkness is not your enemy. It is your teacher, your sanctuary, your womb of revelation, and the voice you hear in the midnight hour, that quiet, warm, eternal voice, is not just giving you words. It is giving you vision. It is giving you purpose. It is giving you presence. So rise slowly. Light a candle if you must. Place your hand on your heart and say, "Yes, Lord, I am here." Because you are not alone in that room. You are in audience with the King. And he has chosen midnight to speak, because he knows that in this sacred stillness your soul is finally awake enough to hear. There are moments, beloved, when God chooses not to thunder from the heavens, nor blaze from burning bushes. There are moments when he steps gently into the quiet corners of your soul, barefoot and breathless, cloaked not in power but in presence. And those moments often come when the rest of the world is sleeping, when your house is still and your heart is soft from the weight of dreams not yet fulfilled. Yes, it's then, at 3 a.m., in the lonely hush of night, that the Lord comes not to perform, but to be close. You may think you're just tossing in your bed. You may believe it's the hum of your thoughts, or the ache in your back that pulls you from your rest. But hush now. Still yourself long enough to notice. It's not the world that's disturbing you. It's the whisper of the divine drawing near, like a mother to her child, like a friend sitting beside you with warm hands and wise eyes. When God wakes you at that hour, it is not always to tell you something. Sometimes it is simply to be with you. You see, intimacy is not about answers. It is about attention. It is about knowing that someone delights in your company, not for what you can give, not for what you can solve, but simply because you exist. And if you listen closely in those still hours, you may sense that God is not requiring anything of you. He is just there, fully, lovingly, completely, because he loves you. Not the dressed-up version of you, not the Sunday best, but the quiet you, the messy you, the version who cries over things you can't explain and dreams too fragile to speak aloud. That's the you he longs for in the night. And so he calls, not loudly, not with alarms, but with a gentle stirring, a divine breath that says, "Come away with me." What God, who could command galaxies, yet chooses to sit beside your bed while you rub the sleep from your eye? What a friend, who doesn't demand a performance but welcomes your sighs, your silence, your tears. He longs for you. Can you believe that? Not your works, not your words, you. And perhaps that is the deepest revelation of all, that the one who needs nothing chooses you again and again, not out of obligation, but out of love that has no edges. Now, love like that is not common. It's not the kind that's written into fairy tales or sung in soft lullabies. No, this love is eternal. And when it calls to you at 3 a.m., it's calling to the deepest parts of your being. The place is still wounded, still wandering, still wondering if you're truly known. And the answer is yes, you are. You are known in full, seen in full, and still you are wanted. There is something holy in that. Something holy in knowing that while the world sleeps, the Creator of stars is mindful of you. That He knows when your breath quickens, that He hears the questions you haven't dared speak aloud, that He sees the tiny hopes you buried under your pillow, too afraid to water them in daylight. He sees it all, and He doesn't look away. That is intimacy, divine intimacy. It is the place where fear dissolves and grace enters, like warm sunlight through open blinds. It is where you learn that prayer is not always speech but surrender, not always eloquence but honesty. And in that sacred hour, God does not come to take, He comes to give. Peace for your racing thoughts, joy for your heavy soul, comfort for your aching body, stillness for your scattered heart. He pours it out like oil upon your head, slowly, steadily, without condition. But intimacy, my dear, is also an invitation. It cannot be forced. It must be welcomed. You must make room in your spirit to receive what the world cannot give. A closeness that heals without cutting, that transforms without rushing. And that may mean sitting in silence for a while, letting the tears fall, laying your questions at His feet, not for answers but for understanding. Letting the warmth of His nearness wash over you, until you remember, deeply remember, that you are not alone, never were and never will be, even when no one calls, even when no one checks in, even when you feel invisible in a crowded room. He sees you. He wants to walk with you, not just in church aisles or revival meetings, but in your bedroom, in your sleepless nights, in your doubts and uncertainties. He is the lover of your soul, the keeper of your midnight, the companion of your deepest inner world. And when He stirs you awake, it is not to demand, it is to dwell. It is to place His hand upon your life and remind you, you are mine, you are loved, you are safe. So the next time you wake without warning and the silence wraps itself around your room like a thick shawl, do not panic. Do not reach for your phone. Don't distract yourself from the sacred moment. Instead, breathe. Whisper His name and wait. Because He is there and intimacy is unfolding. Like a rose at dawn, like a promise kept, like a song too deep for words. He is not a far-off God. He is near. And in the stillness of 3 a.m., He is building something in you that only love can build. A knowing, a nearness, a forever kind of closeness. He wakes you not because you are forgotten, but because you are cherished. And oh, what a beautiful thing it is to be wanted by God.